right, great. Let's get started. This is Tim and Julie Harris, and we are here with a great panel today. I'd like each of you ladies to introduce yourselves, let us know where you sell real estate, how long you've been in real estate, and what you're on track to do this year.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having us, Tim and Julie. My name is Wendy Papasan. I'm with the Papasan Properties Group here in Austin, Texas, and we're on track to sell about 200 units this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Courtney Oldham. I'm also here in Austin, Texas. I'm the owner of the Oldham Group. We're on track to sell about 100 homes this year, and we've been in business about 10 years.
Nice.
And I'm Jean Shine. I'm from Central Texas up around the Fort Hood area, cover about 7 towns up there. I'm on track for 400 this year.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's great.
So we chose 3 questions to ask these guys, and the 3 questions that we chose were the questions that we knew the viewers would be most interested in. So these 3 questions the ladies have been able to prepare to answer, but we're probably going to throw in a few zingers just to keep things interesting. So the first question we wrote down, so there's rules, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Ready? So rule number 1 is we can't repeat each other.
Okay.
So that it's going to be a challenge that way. So,
Okay.
all right. So the first question we wrote down is, Jean, what is your best lead generator or generators?
Well, I'd say yard signs. Other than our past clients, I would say yard signs is tremendous for me. We have been very, very successful on that, and it's been proven over the years. Everyone keeps trying to say those don't work anymore, but they do.
Can I ask you a follow-up question?
Sure.
So yard signs, what specifically about your yard signs make them so effective?
Well, I use flyers, and I have an 800 number on it, and they call the 800 number, and it's worked very, very well for us. And they get more information on the recording than they do on the flyer. So, and our flyer does advertise other properties also. So on the front is the property that we're in front of, and then on the back sheets our list of all of our other listings. So they can, if they don't find this fits their budget or fits their needs, they can go on to the other page.
You know what's great about that idea is it's been around for what, 2 decades?
Oh, a long
Yeah,
time.
Forever maybe?
Still works.
And it still
I
works, but it's
know.
one of the most effective way to generate leads, there's no
It is
questions.
wonderful.
Sure.
Most effective lead generator.
Well, and for us, it's definitely our past clients and referrals. One of the things that we do is we send an electronic newsletter out every 2 weeks. And from that, of course, we can see who's clicking and what they're clicking on. So that prompts us to make an impromptu call, which is not so impromptu, but it really allows us to connect with our clients because we know what they've been clicking on and what they're interested in. So our mode of reaching out to them seems very sincere, but it's also very poignant. It's what they're thinking about at the moment.
Interesting. Great idea.
Yeah,
Wendy?
let me, I wanted to stop on that just for a second because I heard something interesting that you said. You're not just sending the newsletter.
No.
It's what happens after the newsletter goes out, right?
Right, that's just our point of initial contact, but then really being able to see what they're clicking on. So if they're clicking on properties per se, then it's an easy call back to them and saying if they wanted more information on that specific property or if that neighborhood in general. We also have information in there about being able to click on a property search. So there's obviously nothing in that properties that was really resonating for them, but now we know that they're searching for properties, and that gives us a way to reach out and initiate an entire home search.
Sure, being very proactive.
Exactly.
About it.
And it's hyper local, right? We're not just broadcasting to a general mass audience. It's really focusing back on what they're interested in and providing just that information.
I'm curious, have you been able to go in, because I've seen similar systems.
Right.
Is there a certain sweet spot? Are the newest people in the system most likely to raise their hand and actually become a client, or they have to? Have you found after 90 days that's when they become really hot? Is there just general information you've learned from using your system?
No, great question. For us, it's actually a really big mix. Most of the people who are new in the database are definitely clicking on properties, but you'd be surprised how many people have been in the database for 8 years who just like to pick on property pictures. But it's always a great way for us to touch. And since most of our business are coming from referrals, even if it's not something that's generated that particular time, it certainly is an entree into getting more referrals from that past client.
Interesting. Wendy?
Makes sense. Well, definitely I'm a referral-based business, but just tracking this year, about 25% of our business right now is through pay-per-click ads. We have about 4,700 buyer leads in our internet database, and we have a full-time internet, an inside sales, who's spending pretty much all of her day calling, emailing, following up with some of these internet leads. And then about 31% of our business this year is agent-to-agent referrals. So through the Keller Williams network, which is 120,000 agents all across the world, really, we have really worked that system so that if somebody, for instance, has a seller in Charleston and they're moving to Austin, they call me and say, hey, can you help this person who's moving there?
Well, so you and I were talking in the green room about that, and one of the things that you are really good at networking with agents outside of Austin, obviously.
Yes.
So beyond what you said, what would be some other tips and suggestions for agents who are wanting to emulate your business? Because you're obviously highly successful at that.
Sure. So really what I did, I was very purposeful when I first started. I've been in the business for about 6 years. So every single event that I went to, you've been to realtor events, pass out your card. And instead of just coming home and just throwing them in the garbage, the first family reunion, the Keller Williams big event that I did, I had 150 business cards, and I came back and I wrote every single person a handwritten note. And I put them in my database, and I do like a 12 by 12. So every single month I send out an email, and it's not a annoying sort of spammy realtor email. It's really, it always has value, like to come from contribution. So it's like, hey, I saw this great interview with Dave Ramsey, I thought you'd appreciate it. Or I saw this great thing on Inman Connect, I thought you'd appreciate it. Or this great interview with Gary Keller. And so they open it up, and actually a lot of people think it's only to them. Or sometimes I'll ask a question, and that's just how I, I've just done that over the years. I mean, I probably have 1,200 agents in my database now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's great. I love your agent communication.
Yeah, I'm going to put you guys in there.
You just took something that's very natural, though, for agents to do on a regular basis. We interact with agents all the time, but you put a system around it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really the key to it, is that no matter what it is that you're doing in our business, it's highly entrepreneurial just in the way that we interact with our clients and with other agents. But when you put a system around it, it focuses things and it puts your energies in one direction, which is pushing the ball, the farthest forward, the fastest, which is a big deal.
And what's interesting about that is I came back from that first event where I had 150 business cards, and I wrote every single person a handwritten note, and naively I thought, wow, I'm going to get like 50 notes, and I ended up getting one. So I actually thought, I'm going to crush this. It's going to be so easy because nobody else is doing
Julie,
it.
I mean, what all three of these guys are doing is they're not just casting, but they're reeling it.
Right, and that's
I know
a
Julie's
great
thinking
theme.
the same thing. Right?
Definitely. Yours being more personalized, and I love that you said it's not just some random realtor-y email that everybody goes, oh, I get a million of those every day, right?
Delete.
You're bringing something of value, and I think the first time somebody opens that as an agent and they say, you know what, that really was a great interview. I got a lot out of that. Then they're going to make sure they open your next one and your next one and really have a connection to you.
Yep,
I think
because
that
there's
makes a big
12,000
difference.
agents in Austin. And
Just in Austin, right?
Yeah.
Let alone the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Well,
Building relationships.
Well, Austin now is, the tech center of the country, according to a recent,
Absolutely.
right? So there's tons of people coming
We have
in.
110 net moving here every single day.
That's
so,
amazing.
Yeah, so that actually, me doing that 5 years ago made, I didn't do it purposely thinking like there's that many people moving here, but that's just worked out to be successful because so many people are relocating here.
So we have a saying that you have to adopt that we use from time to time where we look back and we go, thank you, past Tim and Julie, for having thank you, past Wendy, for 5 years ago having that. So nice job on that.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears for a second. I want to go to Jean. With thousands of transactions behind you now, and hopefully thousands more to come, by however many you feel like doing coming forward, what would you change looking back that might have saved you time or stress or extra energy? What one thing would you have changed?
From the beginning, if I've known I didn't have to do it all, that you hire someone to help you before you need them, and start building your team there. So do what you do best, and hire others to do the rest. And I wish I'd known that long before I did, because it did take the stress away from my life. It helped me work my passion. It gave me the time for my family and my passion by doing that. So building that worked.
And how did you feel once you took that step back then? It's been probably a while since you took that first step.
It was in the early 90s, and it was, silliest thing, the first person to help me make flyers. Now then we didn't have the computers, right guys? I still have someone that helped me make those flyers, but they do it differently. But I don't like to do that, and I needed it out. And so that way I knew I got it out, and it was just a relief. She was a retired school teacher, and it just, so I didn't worry about spelling or graphics, she could do it all. And it enabled me to spend more time doing what I wanted to do and what I do best. And I think that's crucial. You don't want me today inputting into the computer and spending a lot of time on things like that. That's not where I my talent slide, let's say. You know, you got to find your talent. What do you do best? And do that.
I imagine in the early 90s it was probably pretty unusual for somebody to be thinking about hiring someone.
Absolutely, it was. I was the first one to have an internet site and the first one to, you know, do a lot of things. So I was odd.
I remember when we originally met Jean, it was back in the 90s, early 90s at a Howard Brinton event, and that's back when teams were just actually really starting to get momentum.
Yeah.
There was maybe a couple here and there in the country, and all of a sudden now teams are essentially, it seems like it might be the next leg and the next phase of.
It was. I was criticized by the other agents for when I first started using the word team. Oh my goodness gracious. You thought the world came to an end.
Wow.
But you know, I knew I was doing the right thing because my client was getting better service by having help.
Absolutely.
My clients loved it because they knew that when I was out with a buyer or seller, that they were still being well taken care of.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's why teams have taken off so much.
Absolutely. You
So
don't want to
it-
walk into a doctor's office and have the doctor sitting
greet
behind
you.
the
Right.
desk, you know, inputting
sure.
you and handing you the paperwork.
right.
You
No,
know.
it totally elevates your game in customer service for
Yes.
sure. My best hire was my husband, who is our back end, because he does the attention to detail piece of our business so much better than anybody else does. And our clients don't experience a drop off in the level of service. I have a certain level of service on the front end and developing that relationship and making the deal happen, and that doesn't drop off when it goes to contract.
Well, it's interesting what I'm hearing with how you're hiring people and your recognition that I don't think every agent has, that maybe you don't have to do everything, and in fact, maybe there's people that actually do those tasks better than you do and
better.
faster than you do, and not in between all of the really big tasks that we have to hold down.
Absolutely. Right.
So I love hearing that. I'm glad that's coming out. So Courtney, same question for you.
Yeah.
What would you do in what advice would you give someone, you know, using your own career as an example, that you'd change and maybe save yourself stress?
No, great question. I think I would systemize things faster. When I first started in real estate, I was new to real estate, new to Austin, and didn't know the area very well, and I didn't have a large database. So open houses were a great way for me to get to know people. However, just doing open houses willy-nilly wasn't necessarily a system. If I would have very early on gone after a specific neighborhood or a specific price point, I would have made more traction faster.
Good answer.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off, and I hope you guys are enjoying it, because we certainly are.
Perfect.
Connect is the perfect name because that's what you're doing. You're listening to great speakers, but more importantly is you're meeting a lot of great people.
So we decided only 2.5 weeks before the event to come, and obviously didn't have too high expectations, and it's been amazing. I just feel like drinking 2 bottles of champagne. The exposure for our business was great. So
Learning about the trends in the industry. I mean, be it trends in technology, be it trends in the real estate business models, trends in what agents and brokers are thinking, independent broker models, etc. So learning about that, talking to people, and just trying to figure out how can we as a technology and product company try and figure out the holes and the gaps in those trends.
All right, great, and we are back. So Wendy, it's your turn. What would you have changed or done differently looking back that would have maybe saved you some time or some stress or energy? What would you have done differently?
Well, hindsight's always 20/20, and honestly, I wouldn't have changed anything because all my failures were teaching moments for me. And yet, I wish I had committed earlier to doing my lead gen in the morning. So right now in my business, I get to work 9 o'clock, start hitting the phones, calling people, calling my database. And when I started originally, that time period I had to actually do my business was pretty short because I only had from about 9 to noon when my kids are in daycare. And so I would have been more purposeful about actually, doing my lead generation in the morning.
You mind if we drill down on that? Because that's such a critical point.
Yeah.
So when you say more purposeful with your lead generation, that's something that's easy to say.
It's easy to say.
But
Yeah.
getting people to do it, that's a
is.
completely different
well,
conversation.
it's really something you have to commit to. And so it's really, you have to, it's hard to get up every day and run your own business. I mean, it's not easy to get up and, do this job day after day after day. It's hard. So you kind of have to know why you're doing it. You got to keep that in your head. And then for me, it's always about, doing the best I can do every single day. And so for me, my job right now is I've grown my team. I've given up a lot of those other tasks So at the end of the day, I'm the listing agent, and then I got to lead generate. So when you're able to grow your team, you actually have more time to do those activities that generate income for you. And I wish I had been okay with doing that at the beginning instead of worrying about all the urgent things that needed to be done.
Sure. Now, I have some agent, voices in my head, that are going to wonder, on those days, you have to have days where you just flat out don't feel like doing it.
Of course, yeah, of course.
How do you make yourself do it?
Well, sometimes I just don't do it. I'm going to be honest. I'm
Sure.
not
That's okay.
I'm not a lead generation machine.
Right.
I just can't come in every
So you
every
give yourself
single
a
day
break
and
now
do
and
that.
then,
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
realistic.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I the great thing about having a team is they motivate me. We have our scripts and dialogues at 8:40 in the morning. And then we do our short stand-up where we all talk about what's the one thing we're going to do every day to, move the day forward. And then, there's YouTube, lots of little motivational stuff. I turn on good music. And some days, if I make 5 calls, that's the win. That's
Sure.
a win for me. So,
That's a great,
yeah.
realistic, real-world
Yeah,
answer.
absolutely.
I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But so here's an interesting question. What is it that drives you ladies? Every one of you is so driven and you're so on track to do so much business. I'm sure that our audience would love to know, what is it that drives you? So I'm going to go back to Jean.
Well, it's pretty simple, and I know people say, I want to get in real estate because I want to help people. But I truly do. I think I was born to be a realtor. I didn't know that until everyone else pushed me into it because it's my way. But it's not just helping them buy the house. It's not just helping them with that way. I have a military community. I want to integrate them into the community. I want to educate them about the schools. I want to teach them about all the aspects about living there and making it their home, because it may be only 2 or 3 years and they need to feel like that's their home. So it's not just the transaction. There's so far more above that. And then have them integrate them into my community, my charities, my church, a lot of the activities. And so they're part of my family. They become part of my family and hope they enrich my lives, and I hope I enrich theirs. I think that's what it's all about. And they come back, years later, and we're still friends, and I watch their children grow up, and it's just the most rewarding thing you've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love your caring and your compassion, and I'm sure your clients feel
Now
that
you have to
too.
think of something different.
I know.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Can't repeat.
I can't repeat. Well, just piggybacking on that, most people think of the realtor ads that come out with the happy couple with the baby on their hip moving up to a great house, and that is real estate, and that's wonderful. But there are also things like death and divorce and job loss and sickness and illness that also really come into the play and why you might need to sell your house. And so I like to take it even one step further and say I help people at times of critical transition in their life, and in a time when there are not a lot of people that they can turn to and a lot of other people that are going to be honest with them. I think that we come to the table as a realtor with compassion and care, but also expertise, and sometimes the answers that we have for them are not always what they want to hear, but it's what it's going to take to get them to the next level and the next chapter in their life.
So the feeling of making a difference, similar to what Jean said.
For sure.
That is really the essence of what being a real estate agent
It is, absolutely. I mean, if you don't want to help people, this isn't the right business, because it's really not about the houses, it's about the people.
Absolutely.
Well put.
Wendy?
Well, I definitely agree with all that, but for me now, I have a team of 10, and so what really drives me every day is just pouring into my people and having them, working with them, helping them achieve their goals, helping them get what they want out of life. And so for me, actually, right now, even more than working with the clients, it's really helping my team achieve what they want to achieve, because I know that if I help them get what they want in this world, then I'm going to be able to get whatever I want to.
So I didn't hear you. None of you mentioned money. None of you mentioned personal.
Well, I mean, of course.
Well, but keeping it practical, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't get in this. We're not running nonprofits, right?
Right.
At least I hope none of us are.
No.
So with that in mind, do those types of goals drive you? Does having stuff drive you? Are you okay with using stuff to motivate you? Because this often is the very definition of a thankless job. I mean, people sometimes literally don't say thank you.
Right.
So beyond the familial benefits and the team benefits, are there any other things that you guys use to motivate you even in the darkest of days?
Great question.
Well, if you do it right, it will come. And I've always believed that, and I've never counted the dollars, and I've never counted the transactions. My team does now, but for the first 20 years I didn't. And it comes, but what that enables me to do is help more people. So the money that comes with the transactions give me that I can share back with the community, or give back to my charities, or give back to the military, things like that. So
Were you always driven that way though, Jean?
Always.
I mean, decades ago?
Always. I know, it's crazy. Always. I didn't even know how much money I made or how many transactions I did until my nephew Rodney joined my team. He'd say, "Do you know how many houses you sold?" I go, no, because it wasn't about that. It never was about that for me. So I'm a slave. I don't know.
No, you just have a heart of service, and I think that that's something that all three of you are very consistent about, and you all seem so, I always hear agents saying, gosh, they seem awfully stable for doing that many deals. There's I think a belief amongst people who are putting that business together that, gosh, you must be really unglued and going a million different directions all the time, and yet you're also calm and cool and collected and hearts of service, and it's kind of, it's refreshing.
But education and going to seminars and having coaches make the difference that we can do that. We learn from others.
So before we wrap up for today, I have one last question. I also want to thank Keller Williams International and of course Brad Inman for making this possible. We really enjoyed the opportunity to broadcast in front of all of you. So the last question, and this is actually, I'm going to give this question, this is a Howard Brinton question, in honor of Howard.
Oh, yay.
Why you, Jean? And you guys are all getting the same question. Okay. So why you? Why is it that despite all the trials and tribulations of real estate, ups and downs and all the this, that's, and the others, why you? Why have you been so successful for so long?
I don't know. I still think it's truly caring about my client and making them happy and remember their military, part of the community, and making a difference in their lives to enrich their lives. Because if you enrich other people's lives, it enriches your own.
Thank you.
Well, I definitely think that there's that compassionate piece of our business, but you also have to be a little bit competitive too. You've got to have a little bit of oomph in you.
Well, you guys are competitors, aren't you?
Very much so.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, you guys literally compete for listings.
so.
We do.
I hadn't asked that, but I got that sense when I was talking to you prior to this. There's something
bet.
there that
You
High
bet.
fiver on the way up.
Vice versa. But that competitive spirit is absolutely what drives you as well. I mean, I think it makes you a better realtor, it makes you a better person, and I think through having Wendy and other top producers in our office, it pushes you to be the best that you can possibly be.
Absolutely.
That is true. Competition is great, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
for
And helping people, that's great too.
Well, and I agree with both of them. You have to know why you want to do this business, because like you said, there are days that are just absolutely crazy and you feel like you're going to pull your hair out. And so you always need to, kind of reach inside yourself and think about, why do I want to get to the next level? I mean, why is it important to me? What do I need to do? And so for me, actually, personally, I have a sister who's mentally retarded, and I have a dad who's in a wheelchair. And I have a mom stepmother who has some issues. And so for me, I actually, it is for me about the money, because I want to be able to take care of them at some point in their life. And so it's, all of those things, my competitive spirit, but also knowing what my big why is, like knowing why I get up every day, and then I translate that into, helping people. So.
Is feeling competitive in conflict with the mindset of spirit, mindset of giving, the mindset of contribution, is that in conflict at all?
No.
Not at all.
No.
That's a big mindset shift for a lot of agents,
Yeah.
because they don't want to feel.
Money is good for the good it can do,
Right. Well, and for
So,
me, it's not just helping people on a one-to-one level, that's one thing, but being able to go in and be able to help on a big stage, that's even better. I mean, that's why I tell agents, not to think too small, don't think about one deal. I mean, go after builders, go after developers, take down 32, take down 60 units, make it big, help a lot.
What I tell them is to do one transaction well, and then do another transaction well, and another one, but do it well, do it thoroughly.
So what's next for you ladies? You're obviously having fantastic careers. Did you add up the total combined transactions sitting in front of us?
I know.
Almost
I
1,000.
think between all of you, you are selling all of Texas.
Yeah, really.
That's great.
There's a few other agents.
Yeah.
There might be here and there.
So what's next? What is it that you're looking forward to? What's exciting you right now?
I think that creating, for my team, creating the next level of expertise, creating the new product, creating the new education for my team so that they can do better. and they can, the more transactions they do, the more successful they are. If your team is successful, you'll be successful.
So you're thinking about legacy. That's
Yes.
kind of what I'm feeling you're talking about. Great
Yeah.
book would be Dave Ramsey's Legacy Journey. I think, I'm sure you guys have all read that. It's a great book.
Well, for us, it's developer business. We want to go after big things and bring things to life. And so it's creating condo projects and working with developers to help really put that in a relevant place. So help them identify what that brand would look like and who their potential buyer is, and create a product for them.
I noticed Wendy was really listening when you were talking about that.
Yeah, don't tell her.
Don't tell Wendy.
Well, for me, it's really expanding outside of Austin. So we're about to open a expansion team in St. Louis, Missouri, starting this fall. And our goal is to have 5 expansion teams in the Midwest, and then 5 expansion teams in Texas in the next 4 years.
How are you identifying what markets to target?
Well, we have certain metrics, and the Keller Williams is actually, there's a program through Keller Williams. It's called Expansion Systems Orientation, and it gives you the pro forma and the classes and all the details you need to actually make this happen, because your hub stays in Austin or whatever your home city is, and then you have sales agents in these other places, and it allows you to increase your profit. So
That's fantastic. You know what I don't hear from any of you is any level of complacency whatsoever. You're moving forward. I love, Jean, what you said about furthering the education and the products and bringing your team forward. And I love that you're going after builders now and you're expanding. You guys are moving all the time, and I think that that's something that's good for agents to see from our grizzled veterans. Not that you're grizzled, you're certainly not very grizzled. Okay. But I think a lot of times they think, well, I'll get to a certain level and then I'll just get bored. And I'm really happy and thrilled to see that we don't get that from any of you.
There's something wrong if you get bored in this business, because
Yeah,
every
you're
day
right.
you learn something new. Every day.
absolutely.
Every day.
Absolutely.
So let's, as we end today's show, talk a little bit about Austin. If folks, obviously, you guys are primarily focused in Austin. And you actually, turns out, lives very close to Julie and I, just north of Austin.
Yeah, around the Fort
So
Hood area.
the markets here are on fire. Incredible place to be selling real estate. If anyone wants to obviously move to Austin, which is virtually most of the United States right now.
We don't have to sell too hard.
Only 100
They
people
can
a
come
day.
up to my area. We can use some more
Jean.
people. We need,
That's right.
we need more.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing all
Thank
of
you
your
so
thoughts and your compassion, and I know that there will be a lot of inspiration as a result, so thank you so much.
And thank you, Brad, and thank you, Keller Williams, for making this possible. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to have presented in front of Inman Select, and look forward to future Inman Select episodes where other top producing agents like these 3 wonderful ladies will be featured. And thank you very much for joining us.